In a world that is just overflowing with information, how do we actually know what's true? For a long, long time, we've trusted gatekeepers, institutions, publishers, platforms, to tell us. But what happens when that trust starts to crumble? Let's explore a pretty radical new idea, a decentralized way of building truth, together. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll unpack the whole crisis of our current gatekeepers and really get into why the old systems are failing us. Then, we'll dive into a new model that's built on trusting the process, not just a person or an institution. We'll look at the specific rules that create real rigor, see how expertise can actually thrive out in the open, and finally, wrap it all up with this powerful new idea. Truth is something that emerges instead of something that's just decreed from on high. So, let's start with the big one. Who gets to decide what's true? This question has defined power for centuries. From ancient priests all the way to modern publishers, the job of truth gatekeeper has always been shifting. And guess what? We are living through the next great shift right now. Okay, so for centuries, the power to define truth, it really belonged to big institutions like universities and publishing houses. Then, of course, the internet came along and created these new gatekeepers, the kind of mysterious, opaque algorithms of huge corporate platforms. But today, a third shift is happening. Power is starting to move towards decentralized communities that collectively build consensus based on evidence that anyone can verify. All right, so let's start with the problem itself, the crisis of gatekeepers. Because whether we're talking about the old model or the new one, they both share this fundamental flaw, and it's the real reason our trust is eroding. Just think about it for a second. Whether it's an old school institution making decisions behind closed doors, or a new school algorithm driven by secret code that no one gets to see, the problem is exactly the same: opacity. We can't see how the decisions are made. We're just supposed to trust the gatekeeper. And that black box? That's precisely where the system breaks down. So, if we can't trust the gatekeepers anymore, what's the alternative? Well, it's a pretty radical shift in thinking. Instead of trusting authority, we start trusting transparency. This new model, it completely flips the old paradigm on its head. We stop asking, who should I trust? And we start asking, is the process itself trustworthy? The focus moves away from the gatekeeper and onto the method. So how does this actually work? Well, every single claim and every piece of evidence gets locked into a public, unchangeable digital ledger, a blockchain. This creates this permanent trail of reasoning. From the very first data point to the final conclusion, the entire logical chain is visible and can be checked by anyone, anytime. Every judgment has to be justified, out in the open, right as it's being made. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds a little bit like mob rule, right? But it's actually the opposite. As the original essay on this topic puts it so well, this is not mob rule. It is expertise reborn in public. It's a structured system that's designed to elevate real expertise, not to drown it out in noise. But of course, for any of this to work, you absolutely need quality control. So how does a decentralized system maintain high standards and, prevent bad actors from gaming it? The answer is in a set of very carefully designed rules of rigor. The system's rigor really rests on three core pillars. First, your reputation actually matters. Second, participants need to have some skin in the game. And third, every single decision has to leave a transparent reasoning trail. Let's break each one down. Okay, pillar number one is reputation. In the system, not all votes are created equal. A contributor's influence, their say, it literally grows as they build a track record of making accurate, helpful judgments. This means that real expertise, the kind that's proven over time through good work, it naturally rises to the top and has a much greater impact on the final outcome. Next up is accountability, and this is achieved with what's called skin in the game. Basically, participants place a bet. They stake digital tokens on their judgments. If they're right, they get rewarded. If they're wrong, well, they lose their stake. This economic friction is incredibly powerful. It filters out all the casual or malicious noise and forces everyone to think really, really carefully. And finally, transparent reasoning. Every single consensus decision leaves behind a complete, auditable trail. You can go back and see every piece of evidence, every argument, every vote. And this isn't just for accountability. It's also about learning. If a decision later turns out to be wrong, the community can trace the logic back, find the error, and improve the entire process for the future. So, with these rules in place, what does all this mean for the experts themselves? Well, this new model basically moves expertise from these closed-off chambers out onto a public stage. and the implications of that are pretty profound. Traditionally, expertise was practiced behind closed doors, right? Think of confidential peer reviews or private board meetings. And while that allows for a certain kind of candor, it can also lead to groupthink and a serious lack of accountability. This new model completely flips that. Expertise is now exercised out in the open, where it's subject to immediate challenge. Experts are still incredibly valuable, but now they have to publicly justify their reasoning, which fosters this amazing culture of constant refinement. And the benefits here are just huge. An early career researcher can build a verifiable reputation from day one without waiting years. A talented practitioner from anywhere in the world can contribute on an equal footing. And when everything is open like this, insights from completely different fields can collide and spark something totally new. So what this really means is that expertise itself begins to transform. It's no longer concentrated in just a few elite institutions. It becomes distributed across the globe, diversified with new voices, and validated democratically by a transparent process, not some closed committee. And this brings us to our final and maybe the most profound idea of all. This isn't just about a new technical system, it really represents a whole new philosophy of knowledge itself. In this new model, truth isn't something that's handed down by an authority, and it's certainly not just crowdsourced from the masses. Instead, the thinking goes, truth emerges. It's the natural outcome of a rigorous, transparent, and properly incentivized process. This just completely re-anchors where credibility comes from. It's no longer about your job title or which fancy university you went to. It's all about your demonstrated competence and the rigor of your arguments. And all of that is recorded permanently, publicly, for everyone to see. And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question to think about. For most of human history, credibility has been a privilege that was granted by institutions. So what happens to our world when credibility has to be proven out in the open by everyone? It's a radical thought, and it just might be the future of truth.